Hello and welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with all the latest news and updates from across India and the world. But before we go over to the headlines, Rajya Sabha TV appeals to all its viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside your houses. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. And now let's get you the headlines. Campaigning in Bihar, Prime Minister Modi asserts state's youth and women expect NDA to be re-elected. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh calls corruption-free administration hallmark of the Modi government. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi questions agricultural reform laws. Union Cabinet approves Luri Hydroelectric project on Satluj River. Project to generate 775 crore units of electricity, generate 2,000 jobs. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar highlights signs of economic recovery. Race to US White House goes down to the wire. Fates of Republican candidate President Donald Trump and his Democratic rival Joe Biden hang on key battleground states. UN General Assembly adopts two India-sponsored resolutions. Resolutions aimed at prohibiting nuclear weapons and reduce risks of accidental use. And for the sixth day in a row, India's active COVID-19 cases remain below 6 lakh. In the last 24 hours, over 53,000 people recovered from the virus. Rate of recovery now over 92%. And the top story, the Union Cabinet on Wednesday approved 1,810 crore rupees investment for 210 megawatt Luri Stage 1 hydropower project on the Satluj River. Union Minister Prakash Javadekar announced that the project will be commissioned within 62 months. He added that the new project will cut down carbon dioxide emissions by 6.1 lakh tons every year.
हिमाचल में लुहरी हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट करने का निर्णय लिया गया। 210 मेगावाट का ये बिजली का प्रोजेक्ट 1810 करोड़ रुपए के लागत से बनेगा। इससे 775 करोड़ यूनिट हर साल बिजली मिलेगी। यह सतलज जल विद्युत निगम के मार्फत होगा। इसमें केंद्र और राज्य सरकार की मदद मिलेगी। इससे बड़ा फायदा है कि ये रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी है, हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट है, तो कार्बन एमिशन नहीं होता। इससे 2000 लोगों को प्रत्यक्ष और अप्रत्यक्ष रोजगार के अवसर मिलेंगे। हिमाचल को 1140 करोड़ रुपए की बिजली मुफ्त मिलेगी।
The cabinet also discussed the economic situation. Prakash Javadekar said there were indications of the economy coming back on track.
पिछले दिनों में अर्थव्यवस्था फिर से पटरी पर लौट रही है, इसके अनेक संकेत मिले हैं। बिजली की मांग 12% बढ़ी है। जीएसटी पिछले साल के अक्टूबर में जितना मिला था उससे ज्यादा 1,05,000 करोड़ रुपए अक्टूबर महीने में प्राप्त हुआ। एक तरह से सभी क्षेत्रों में एक सतत मांग का विकास, सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट इन डिमांड, ये नजर आ रही है।
The cabinet also approved a memorandum of understanding between India and Israel on cooperation in healthcare and medicine. Another MOU between India and United Kingdom on cooperation in telecommunication was also approved. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will chair a virtual global investor roundtable on Thursday. It will be an exclusive dialogue between leading global institutional investors, Indian business leaders, and top government decision makers and financial market regulators. More details in this report.
The roundtable will be attended by 20 world's largest pension and sovereign wealth funds with assets under management worth $6 trillion. These institutional investors represent key regions of the United States, Europe, Canada, Korea, Japan, Middle East, Australia, and Singapore. Apart from global investors, several top Indian business leaders will also take part in the roundtable. The virtual Global Investor Roundtable will focus on discussions around India's economic and investment outlook, structural reforms, and the government's vision for a $5 trillion economy. The event will give leading global investors and Indian business leaders a chance to engage with senior policymakers on accelerating the growth of international investments in India. Foreign investments in the country this fiscal is the highest ever for the first 5 months of a financial year. It will also allow all stakeholders to cement strong partnerships and foster engagement with international institutional investors looking to increase Indian investments. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Time now for all the news and updates from the Bihar Assembly elections. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Wednesday that the youth and women of Bihar have always been with the National Democratic Alliance and they see hope in this alliance. In a series of tweets, Prime Minister Modi asserted that NDA is moving towards a historic victory in Bihar. He also said that only NDA can provide security, employment, and new opportunities of self-employment to the youth in Bihar. He also said that the people of the state know that their sevak from a backward society and born in poverty is ensuring that not a single poor sleeps hungry. The Prime Minister added that the people of Bihar prefer politics of good governance. He also said that every Bihari has always been vocal for local and NDA is committed towards taking that identity to the national and global levels. Prime Minister Modi also pointed out that unprecedented investment on modern infrastructure is creating new employment opportunities in the state. Under the Mudra Yojana and Stand Up India schemes, 1 lakh crore rupees is being given to Bihar. He also stated that no other party has done as much the NDA has done and continues to do so also for the farmers. And campaigning gained momentum for the third and final phase of the Bihar Assembly elections. Star campaigners and senior leaders of various political parties addressed multiple public meetings in the state on Wednesday. 78 seats spread over 15 districts, including Kishanganj, Katihar, Madhepura, Supaul, Darbhanga, and Madhubani, will go to polls on the 7th of November. Senior BJP leader and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh addressed rallies in the poll-bound areas of Damdaha, Pranpur, Kodha and Muzaffarpur on the day. Addressing a gathering in Purnia district, Rajnath Singh expressed confidence that the NDA will once again form the government with a majority in the state. He also said that the biggest achievement of Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led NDA government is corruption-free governance.
नीतीश कुमार जी के नेतृत्व में 15 वर्षों तक इस बिहार में सरकार चली है। बहनों भाइयों, यह तो कोई सवाल कर सकता है नीतीश कुमार जी ने यह काम किया, यह काम नहीं किया, लेकिन चाहे बिहार अथवा दुनिया का कोई भी, भारत का कोई दूसरा राज्य उंगली उठाकर नहीं कह सकता मेरे बहनों भाइयों कि हमारे नीतीश कुमार सुशील मोदी के दामन पर कोई भ्रष्टाचार की दाग लगी हुई हो, यह कोई नहीं कह सकता।
BJP President JP Nadda held an election rally and a road show in the Champaran region. Addressing a rally in Valmiki Nagar, he hit out at RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav, saying he cheated people. The BJP chief appealed to people to vote for Nitish Kumar to ensure development of the state.
ये विधानसभा में विपक्ष का नेता गायब होना ये व्यक्ति नहीं, ये बिहार की जनता के साथ धोखा है। इस बात को समझना चाहिए, इस बात को जानना चाहिए। इसलिए ऐसे लोगों को आराम दो और मेहनत करने वाले नीतीश बाबू को काम दो।
BJP leader and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath also addressed public meetings in Katihar, Darbhanga, Madhubani and Saharsa districts.
गरीबों के लिए, नौजवानों के लिए, महिलाओं के लिए, व्यापारियों के लिए, समाज के प्रत्येक तबके के लिए जो सरकार कार्य कर सके और सुरक्षा सबको उपलब्ध करा सके, राष्ट्र के सम्मान और स्वाभिमान को आगे बढ़ा सके, उसी पार्टी को सत्ता में बार बार आने का अधिकार होना चाहिए।
JDU President and Chief Minister Nitish Kumar also held multiple rallies on the day. Addressing a gathering in Kishanganj, he said his government has launched several schemes for the welfare of women. He added that 1 lakh women of minority communities have benefited from skill development training and have now become self-reliant.
हमने अल्पसंख्यक महिलाओं को प्रशिक्षित करने के लिए काम किया ताकि उनको ट्रेनिंग मिल जाए और वो काम शुरू करें। 1 लाख से भी ज्यादा संख्या में अल्पसंख्यक समुदाय की महिलाओं ने किस प्रकार की ट्रेनिंग ले ली और काम करना शुरू किया। तो देखिए, हमने समाज के हर तबके के लिए कोई न कोई काम शुरू करके लोगों को आगे बढ़ाने की कोशिश की है।
Congress leader Rahul Gandhi addressed election rallies in Madhepura and Araria. He targeted the Nitish Kumar government over job and migrant crisis.
गठबंधन की सरकार बनेगी तो सबकी सरकार होगी, गरीबों की, किसानों की, हर जात की, हर धर्म की, हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट की सरकार होगी। हम मिलकर इस प्रदेश को बदलने का काम करेंगे।
Leaders of other opposition parties, including RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav and RLSP chief Upendra Kushwaha, also held public meetings in the last leg of the campaign. The Jammu and Kashmir poll panel on Wednesday announced an 8-phase election to 20 district development councils in the Union Territory beginning 28th of November. This will be the first major electoral exercise since the abrogation of Article 370 in August last year. State Election Commissioner K.K. Sharma said that by-elections to vacant panchayat and municipal seats will be held simultaneously. The last phase of polling will take place on 19 December and the counting of votes will take place on the 22nd of December. While the election to DDCs and panchayat by-polls will be through ballot, by-election to municipal seats will be conducted through electronic voting machines. This will be for the first time that West Pakistani refugees, Valmikis and Gorkhas will also be exercising their franchise in these elections. The centre has fully applied the 73rd constitutional amendment to the Union Territory, under which all 3 tiers of Panchayati Raj institutions will be formed in Jammu and Kashmir for the first time.
अभी जो है ये जनरल इलेक्शंस हैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट डेवलपमेंट काउंसिल को इलेक्ट करने के लिए, और अपने ये फैसला इसका लिया है कि ये इलेक्शन पार्टी बेसिस के ऊपर होंगी। सारी इलेक्शन के इंतज़ाम करने के लिए इलेक्शन मशीनरी जो है स्टेट इलेक्शन कमीशन की, और जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट का पंचायत इलेक्शन ऑफिसर हैं वो डिप्टी कमिश्नर्स हमारे होते हैं, जो 20 जिले के डिप्टी कमिश्नर्स हैं, दे आर आल्सो डिस्ट्रिक्ट पंचायत इलेक्शन ऑफिसर्स। तो उनके साथ में ये मिलके पूरी तैयारियां हो रही हैं। सारे सिक्योरिटी अरेंजमेंट इसके लिए इलेक्शन के लिए किए जाएंगे बाय द कंसर्न सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज़। तो इसके लिए एक गाइडलाइंस इवॉल्व करी गई हैं सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग की, हर एक पोलिंग स्टेशन के ऊपर में सैनिटाइज़र रखने की, और कोई इलेक्टर आ गया है जिसके पास मास्क नहीं है तो उसको मास्क प्रोवाइड करने के लिए, और ये सब इलेक्शन में किया जाएगा।
The Joint Committee on the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 held its meeting on Wednesday. Oral evidence by the representatives of Jio Platforms Limited on the Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 was on the agenda. The Personal Data Protection Bill 2019 intends to regulate the processing or usage of individuals' data by the state and private entities. The bill seeks to provide for protection of personal data of individuals and establishes a data protection authority for the same. The bill governs the processing of personal data by government, companies incorporated in India, and foreign companies dealing with personal data of individuals in the country. A look now at the latest COVID-19 situation in the country. India continues to sustain the trend of consistently low active cases, with cases below 6 lakh for the 6th day today. India's active caseload now stands at 5,33,000, comprising 6.42% of the total positive cases. The country on Wednesday reported 46,253 new cases in the last 24 hours. 53,357 recoveries were reported in the same period, taking the recovery rate at 92.09%. The total cases have crossed 83,13,000, including 76,56,000 recoveries. With 514 new deaths on Tuesday, the toll has now crossed 1,23,611. Over 12 lakh samples were tested in the last 24 hours. So far, India has tested a total of 11.29 crore samples. And a day after Delhi recorded over 6,700 fresh COVID-19 cases for the first time, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on Wednesday said the city is witnessing a third wave in the cases of coronavirus. The national capital's infection tally is over 4 lakh, even as the positivity rate stood at 11.29% amid the festive season and rising pollution in the city. Kejriwal will hold a meeting to review the situation in the national capital on Thursday.
रिव्यू मीटिंग कल 4 बजे रखी है कोरोना की स्थिति को वो करने के लिए, कोरोना के जो तैयारियां हैं, बेड्स की क्या स्थिति है उसको करने के लिए, और ये पटाखों के बारे में भी कल ये निर्णय लिया जाएगा कि पटाखे जलने चाहिए कि नहीं जलने चाहिए। दिल्ली की जनता को कहना चाहता हूं कि पिछले कुछ दिनों में कोरोना के केसेस में उछाल आया है। मैं समझता हूं कि ये थर्ड वेव इसको हम कह सकते हैं। हम लगातार स्थिति के ऊपर नजर रखे हुए हैं। मैं केवल ये कहना चाहता हूं कि घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है।
In some other news, on Wednesday, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, through his social media series on unsung heroes, shared his thoughts on Akamma Cherian, popularly known as the Jhansi ki Rani of Travancore. Born in 1909, Akamma Cherian was a fearless freedom fighter, a valorous leader, a passionate teacher, and also a great social reformer. She started her career as a teacher at St. Mary's School. However, in 1938, she gave up her teaching career to join the freedom movement and became an active member of the Travancore State Congress. Under the state Congress, the people of Travancore started an agitation for a responsible government. But the Diwan of Travancore decided to suppress this agitation. He banned the state Congress in August 1938 by using his discretionary powers. This led to a civil disobedience movement in the state. Prominent state Congress leaders, including its president, P.A. Thanupillai, were put behind bars. The state Congress then decided to change its method of agitation. Its working committee was dissolved and the president was given dictatorial powers and the right to nominate his successor. K. Ramakrishna Pillai, the 11th president before his arrest, nominated Akama Cherian as his successor. Cherian led a massive rally towards the Kaudiyar Palace, demanding the revocation of the ban on state Congress. The British police chief ordered his men to open fire on the protesters. Cherian dared the British troops to kill her before they aimed at protesters led by her. This forced the police authorities to withdraw their orders and a big massacre was avoided. Akama Cherian then set up a women's volunteer group, Desa Sevika Sangh, and began inspiring other women to join the freedom struggle. She had been imprisoned twice during her struggle for independence. In 1947, after India's independence, Akama Cherian was elected unopposed to the Travancore Legislative Assembly. Vice President Naidu hoped to include inspirational stories of these freedom fighters in school textbooks to make the coming generations aware about their sacrifices for India's independence. And talking about the US presidential elections now, the presidential contest seems to have gone down to the wire as counting of votes for the presidential election continues. The closely fought US presidential election appeared to be headed into an uncertain phase, with Republican incumbent Donald Trump and his Democratic opposition candidate Joe Biden fighting it out in the key battleground states. According to Associated Press, Biden has 236, while Trump has 213 electoral votes.
The closely fought US presidential election was headed for an uncertain phase, with Republican incumbent Donald Trump and his Democratic challenger Joe Biden fighting it out in the key battleground states. Biden has 224 electoral votes, while Trump has 213, with counting of votes still underway in several states. 270 electoral college votes are needed to win the White House. Donald Trump is leading by slender margins in Michigan, North Carolina, and Georgia, while Joe Biden is ahead in Nevada and Wisconsin. With most other states called, these 5 states will determine who wins the US presidential race. However, in an early morning address, US President Donald Trump told supporters that he will fight the election in the Supreme Court. He also asserted that he has won the 2020 presidential election.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. So our goal now is to ensure the integrity for the good of this nation. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop.
In response, Biden's campaign said that its legal teams are ready to deploy if Trump presses ahead with his threat to move the Supreme Court to stop election counting.
It's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people. We feel good about where we are. We really do. I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election. We knew because of the unprecedented early vote and the mail-in vote that it was going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient until the hard work of tallying the votes is finished. And it ain't over till every vote is counted, every ballot is counted.
President Trump held several states that he won in 2016 that Biden had hoped to flip. But other battlegrounds were too close to call. Democrats gained a Senate seat in Colorado but lost one in Alabama. Biden won in Democratic-leaning states of Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Mexico, Vermont and Virginia, while President Trump posted victories in Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, West Virginia, Wyoming, Indiana and South Carolina. People across America were closely watching the 2020 presidential election that saw a record number of over 100 million early voting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The usually bustling and crowded Times Square wore an almost deserted look on election night as the coronavirus pandemic forced many to stay indoors. According to experts, it may take days or even weeks for the presidential result this year because of the expected surge in postal ballots. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday adopted 2 resolutions sponsored by India. The resolutions call for prohibition of nuclear weapons and reduce the risks of accidental use of nuclear weapons in the world. The 2 resolutions are Convention on the Prohibition of the Use of Nuclear Weapons and Reducing Nuclear Danger. These resolutions manifest India's commitment towards the goal of nuclear disarmament. The first was tabled by India in 1982 and the second one in 1998. Both were passed by a majority at the UNGA. While the first resolution drew 112 members in favor, the second resolution got 116 members in support. According to the Ministry of External Affairs, UN officials, the first resolution calls for Conference on Disarmament to start negotiations on an international convention prohibiting the use or threat of use of nuclear weapons under any circumstances. The second resolution on reducing nuclear danger puts focus on unintentional or accidental use of nuclear weapons and underscores the need for a review of nuclear doctrines. The resolution asks for concrete steps to reduce such risks, including through de-alerting and de-targeting of nuclear weapons. And several union ministers today condemned the police action against Republic TV's editor-in-chief Arnab Goswami. Information and Broadcasting Minister Prakash Javadekar called Goswami's arrest an attack on the freedom of press. He said the incident reminded the country of the days during emergency when the press was treated this way. Terming Goswami's arrest as a blatant misuse of state power, Union Home Minister Amit Shah said the attack on free press must be and will be opposed. The Home Minister slammed opposition parties, saying that the Congress and its allies have shamed democracy. Condemning the arrest, the Editors Guild of India said in a statement, it is shocked to learn about the arrest of Arnab Goswami by the Mumbai police, calling the sudden arrest extremely distressing. The Guild called upon the Chief Minister of Maharashtra to ensure that Arnab Goswami is treated fairly and state power is not used against critical reporting by the media. Arnab Goswami was arrested in Mumbai over a 2018 case relating to alleged abetment of suicide of an interior designer. And that's it from us in this bulletin. But before we leave, we once again want to make an appeal to all our viewers to stay safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. Remember, always wear face masks, wash hands and your faces regularly, and maintain physical distancing when you step outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic.